So, back in October of 2022, Steph Curry had his first glimpse of Victor Wembanyama's game being played in America. Soon after, a reporter asked Curry about his thoughts on Wembanyama, and here's what number 30 had to say.
Have you had a chance to watch Victor Wembanyama play yet?
Yeah, I watched a little bit of the game the other day. They play again tonight, right? Yeah, he's like the 2K creative player.
Wembanyama responded to Steph's comment stating, "It feels good to have such a great player complimenting you. Nothing is proven yet, and I've got everything to prove in the next couple of years. So I feel like he's got great hope for me, so it feels good." Ladies and gentlemen, based on everything I could find on the internet, that was pretty much the extent of the interaction between Steph, the Chef Curry, and Victor, the extraterrestrial Wembanyama. Just a couple of exchanges through social media, but we all knew that wouldn't last. Victor, being the number one prospect in NBA history, was destined for the league, while Curry, although in the later stages of his prime, isn't quite ready to pass on the torch just yet. As fate would have it, the two eventually met on the hardwood. It was just a preseason game where nothing really mattered, but you wouldn't be able to tell from watching the game. The air was thick, and the building was more packed and electrified than some mid-season Wednesday night games. And for good reason. This was the day where the present met the future, and it couldn't have been scripted any better than this. A tip-off at center court, and yes, guys, that's Steph Curry, who's 6'3", tipping off against the 7'4" Wembanyama. And in case you're wondering, that's a 13-inch height difference. Just for comparison, the height gap between Curry and Wemby is like the difference between Curry and someone who's 4'1", like Danny DeVito. It's such a massive difference that I'm surprised Wemby even jumped. But anyway, it was all fun and games for Steph Curry at that point, as he was playing around trying to act all serious. However, he would soon learn that Wemby was different, and the 19-year-old didn't travel all this way to simply play games. Not too long after the game started, Steph Curry and the Warriors finally understood what they were truly up against in what I like to call the 90 seconds of death. It all started with this play here, where Wembanyama first crossed over, then pump fake Wiggins off his feet before hitting a mid-range jumper. Yeah, I know it's absurd to think someone who's 7'4" could do something like that, but that was just the beginning. On the next play down the floor, it was Klay Thompson's turn to guard him, and the result, well, it quickly turned into an and one for the number one overall pick. Then on the Warriors' very next possession, Wemby did something that we all thought we wouldn't see so quickly into the game. He blocked a Splash Brothers three-point attempt. You know, Klay hardly ever gets blocked, and Wemby not only made it look easy, but he followed it up with a dunk on the other end. Next up was something horrific. The Warriors understand that blocks happen. It's just part of the game. But, not blocks like this. Andrew Wiggins, the number one overall pick in 2014, was the Warriors' second best player in their 2022 championship run, has probably never been blocked like this since elementary school. I mean, it was a mean block. Nasty block. And quite honestly, this was probably Wembanyama's way of saying, "I'm here." To add more smoke to this fire, Wemby followed that up by running down the floor and drilling a three-point shot. Holy smokes. 4 buckets, 1 free throw, 10 points, 2 monster blocks on elite Warriors starters, and 1 rebound. All that literally happened within the span of 90 seconds. And by someone who's not only just a rookie, but someone who hasn't even played his first official NBA game yet. And you want to know how Steph felt about all that? Well, check this out. Soon after that 90-second onslaught by the extraterrestrial, Steph hits a 3, and as he runs back, look at his facial expression. That says it all. It looks like he's starting to realize that Wemby didn't take that lightly, but he probably did think, what the heck are we going to do about this guy? Anyway, needless to say, Steph was completely shocked by Victor. I mean, I know he once called him a cheat code, but this is probably the first time in Steph's life that he actually witnessed the cheat code maul his team to pieces in real time. From there, it wasn't too much longer until Steph personally felt Wembanyama's wrath, as he drove into the paint, only to get a shot attempt swatted out like a fly. Steph didn't know what hit him. It was all Wemby at this point. Victor was making Steph and the Warriors look like barbecue chicken. But as we know, basketball is a game of two halves, and Steph wasn't going to let Wemby get away with what he just did, especially at Chase Center, the home of the Warriors. Shortly after the third quarter started, this happened. This was actually the first play where Steph and Wembanyama really matched up with one another and had a bit of action. It happened just a few minutes into the third as CP3 dished the ball to Steph, who took one dribble and shot faked. That was enough to get Wembanyama off the floor. Then, while the 7'4" Frenchman had his back turned, Steph begilded him again, making him look like Bambi on skates before shooting the mid-range. It's unfortunate Steph missed the shot because that would have been a welcome to the NBA highlight reel for Wemby. What's crazy though, is that even with all that shaking and baking from Steph, Wemby was still just 1 or 2 inches away from blocking it. It reminds me of that Allen Iverson crossover on Jordan, where even after hitting him with the best move, Mike recovered enough to still nearly block the shot. For the first meeting, Curry was probably more impressed with Wemby than Wemby being impressed with Curry. I mean, the Frenchman was an absolute menace the whole time he was on the floor, recording 5 blocks in 21 minutes, in addition to dazzling the crowd with the eye test. While on the other hand, this was one of Steph's rare off-shooting nights as he went 1 for 6 from distance. Still, Wembanyama highly respects Steph. In fact, not too long ago, the Spurs' new star was asked which starting 5 he would choose to save the planet, and here's what he said.
Gotta go with Steph, Jordan, LeBron, Timmy, Shaq.
But back to the game. Despite Wemby dominating, there were valuable clues that Steph and the Warriors learned about the new basketball phenom. The first is he's beatable off the dribble. Chris Paul was able to put him on skates for a bit, but as we've seen in the past, it doesn't always translate well to finishing. The second thing the Warriors learned is one area where they can nullify Wembanyama is by playing with force. In this play here, Wiggins drove directly at him into his body, and as you all can see, he was able to move him out of the way for the easy lay-in. This was really on display by Kenneth Lofton Jr. as well during the gold medal match between USA and France back in 2021. The scary fact about this, though, is what will everybody do once Wemby reaches his prime and packs on more weight and muscle? At this point, though, it's clear, just like how Steph has changed the game forever, Wemby looks to be on course to do the same thing. Then, just like how Trae Young and Luka Doncic once worked out with Steph, I wonder if Wemby is going to train under the chef. Now, if that happens, then all I can say is, it's a great time to be an NBA fan.